Hi, everyone. I'm Patricia Ravitz. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm the chair of this year's annual conference 2018. And I'm here today with Shannon Kopp, MFA, and Dr. Annie Peterson, who is a doctor of education. And we are all here with our furry friends. So let's start by introducing our furry friends. Since Max seems to have taken a nap, why don't you guys go?
I'll go ahead and go since my guinea pig is chewing my clothes. This is Phoenix. Woo, this is Phoenix, the guinea pig, and he's being very patient with me. He wants to be part of this meeting. Phoenix is, we think he's almost 2 years old. He's got a nice little story, but I just wanted to give a little introduction to Phoenix.
Awesome. And how about you, Shannon? Who do you have with you?
This is Bella Boo. She was 8 weeks old when I adopted her almost 8 years ago at the San Diego Humane Society. She's a poodle shih tzu mix and the love of my life. I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome. And I'm here, I'm trying to get him in the shot, with my dog Max, who is 11 years old. I adopted him when he was 4 months old. And Max's story recently is that he had a very large tumor and went through a 4-hour surgery in last September, and he's doing really well, and I'm thrilled to have him here to meet your animals and to hear more about animal-assisted therapy and Soul Paws. So what I'd like to cover today is to hear some about your upcoming workshop that you're going to do about animal-assisted therapy and eating disorder and trauma recovery. And then also just to tell us about Soul Paws and what it is and what you do. And then lastly, I want to make sure we talk about our petting parlor, because we have quite a bit of excitement happening around when I tell people that we're going to have our furry friends and they're going to be able to come take a break from the workshops and pet animals and learn more about animal-assisted therapy. So Shannon, why don't we start with you, and maybe you can say a little bit more about your upcoming workshop and what you'll be covering and what people will be able to take away.
Sure. Well, we're very excited to bring Soul Paws to the camp conference this year. Dr. Peterson and I started Soul Paws almost 2 years ago now, and our intention was to bring an animal therapy experience specifically to people impacted by eating disorders. And my inspiration for that was my own life story. I healed from an eating disorder with therapy, treatment, and a big support team, human and animal. So shelter dogs were a huge part of my healing. And I published a book a few years ago called Pound for Pound, and began getting letters from people not only struggling with eating disorders, but all different kinds of mental health issues. And some things that they would say were that they weren't well enough to have an animal, or they were in treatment and there weren't animals present, or it just wasn't the right time in their life to be volunteering with animals. And so I wanted to create an experience where we could bring animals to people in need, specifically in San Diego. And because eating disorders, in my struggle, I had a very difficult time being in my body and being present, and animals were the greatest tool for me to discover how to do that. So we wanted to bring it to people in San Diego. And so Soul Paws workshops are extremely unique, and using Dr. Peterson's years of experience in animal welfare and in education, as well as another board member, Emily Conlon, who works at the University of San Diego, UCSD Eating Disorder Adolescent Program. She's a therapist there. We put together a really unique curriculum in which animals are not just kind of like a side comfort. They're not just there to simply comfort you during a therapeutic group. They're actually the main event. They are the healers themselves, the guides to wisdom. the guides to peace. And so we make sure in every Soul Paws workshop that members experience one-on-one time, 20 minutes of stillness with the animals we have. And we use therapy dogs, therapy miniature horses, therapy guinea pigs. Phoenix, there has been a part of Soul Paws. We've used rabbits as well as rats. And it's a really unique experience because not only do we do therapeutic exercises with the animals, but that 20 minutes of one-on-one still time, journaling, looking into an animal's eyes, feeling their energy and their wisdom. It's been life-changing for a lot of the participants. And so we're really looking forward to providing this unique therapeutic experience to everybody at camp.
That sounds amazing. Andy, do you want to add anything about the upcoming workshop?
Yeah, one of the things that I have found that for myself and for others that I've worked with, and even though dogs are just so effective in helping people to relax, and we've all heard the studies about dogs bringing down blood pressure and so on. I've also found in working through other programs that there's a lot of fear associated with dogs. I've tried to bring a lot of programming to some underserved communities in San Diego County, and we do have a community of City Heights in San Diego where there is a large population from Somalia. And there isn't a lot of acceptance of dogs. Mm-hmm. And so we have been able to bring some animal-assisted therapeutic programs involving animals like guinea pigs, like Phoenix, who you met just a moment ago. They're just so intuitive to people and how they're feeling, and animals like guinea pigs and animals like rabbits, and like Shannon mentioned, even rats can just be a very, very grounding element when somebody is going through any kind of recovery. And with trauma-informed care, there are all sorts of strategies that can be used with people, and incorporating animals into that type of therapeutic strategy really seems to make a difference for some.
That sounds wonderful. I'm just going to make a little plug for rats, because when I was a teenager, my younger brother had Bert the rat, who was a great family pet, and we all really loved him, and they're so smart, and they're so cute, and they're so affectionate. So I love that you're including lots of different species, and a lot of what you're describing makes me think of equine therapy, which has really taken off in the last years. And these smaller animals are so much more accessible, but there's that same kind of connecting with the animal that helps you slow your own heart rate and move into your body. And for a lot of people, it's the first experience of making contact with someone that they can learn to trust and love. And very, very powerful.
And I think you've probably even seen, even though it's not necessarily a therapeutic intervention, but I think that's why goat yoga has become so popular. Just that mindfulness and having goats around, I think is really a plus for a lot of people.
Okay, so I'm just a Soul Paws yoga fundraiser at University of San Diego in a couple weeks, so we're excited about that. But
wonderful.
This is an incredible tool.
So I'm just going to say I had not heard of goat yoga. That was up here in Northern California, where it's maybe a little behind SoCal. It sounds like something I really must try. Yeah.
I think that's a next year session.
Exactly. Goats next year. I wonder if you could take a little time and tell us how you envision our petting parlor. So we're just to let viewers know, we're going to have a section in the exhibit hall where we're going to feature Soul Paws, and I know you guys are planning to bring some animals. So what can you tell us? Give us a little preview.
Well, I'm definitely going to have Phoenix with us during the session that we're having, and I know that Shannon has coordinated with some other visitors too. So Shannon, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I know that on April 26th, Thursday, we're going to have some of our Soul Paws regulars. So we're going to have a Rottweiler therapy dog as well as a miniature horse. And we may even also have a golden retriever. So we're being very conscious about, I mean, therapy animals have very busy schedules. Trying to get in these schedules is a little bit difficult. They're much busier than I am. So we've definitely got animals that are going to be there Thursday. We're working on getting some to be there Friday, but what we can tell you for sure is that if you attend our session starting at 2:15 on Thursday, we're going to be doing a signature Soul Paws workshop in which we will have several dogs, Phoenix, the guinea pig, and a miniature horse there. And anyone that's there will experience this one-on-one therapy that I was talking about before. So I think it's going to be a really powerful experience. Emily Conlin, one of our board members and a therapist at UCSD, will be leading the workshop.
That sounds incredible. Like I said, there's a lot of excitement about the petting parlor. And I wonder if you could share with us the story of how you came to the name Soul Paws. When I saw that, I knew I was going to love you guys and what you're doing. It just, the name resonated so much with me, but I just suspect there's a story there and I'd love to hear
it. Sure. Well, I battled an eating disorder for almost a decade, and my greatest challenge, I also worked with a therapist who utilized ACT and DBT and later animal-assisted therapy in my treatment. And my biggest struggle was pausing in the moment and sitting through uncomfortable feelings or physical sensations, being in my body. We would call it the power of the pause in therapy, and practice just pausing, what that looks like, taking a deep breath, being in my body. And it was really easy to do in my therapist's office, and then it was really hard to do outside of there. I met Annie working at the San Diego Humane Society, and I actually started that job less than a year after I was discharged from a residential eating disorder treatment program. And so I was still battling my eating disorder secretly. Not a lot of people knew. I believe the animals knew. They really can sense your energy and were immensely loving and supportive to me. But I was so frustrated because on an intellectual level and in talking to my therapist, I understood that every day I was surrounded by loving animals I could turn to in moments of, you know, anxiety or discomfort or sadness or depression. And yet I kept turning to food during the day, and I was binging and purging at the San Diego Humane Society. And for the first time in many years, I wanted to recover more than ever before because this was my dream job. I didn't want to lose it. I felt like I was connecting with my soul again, connecting with something beyond food and body and weight and scales. I loved these animals so much, and yet I knew I was going to lose this job if I continued to engage in the eating disorder. And so my therapist, it's a much longer story. You can read the whole thing in pound for pound, but essentially my therapist started having me make commitments to visit with certain shelter dogs before meals during moments of anxiety. And unlike all the other commitments I tried to make in the past, like to journal or meditate or call a friend, things I tried to do to interrupt these powerful urges to binge, the animals actually worked. And I believe they worked because I came into this world loving animals. It's just a part of my soul, a part of my DNA. I'm just an animal person. I connect really deeply with animals, and that connection ended up saving my life. So Soul Paws is for anyone that also feels that soul connection with animals and finds great peace, and I think Annie's alluded to it too, safety in the presence of an animal and feels almost safer than when they're by themselves or around people because of their non-judgmental nature. And then the pause is obviously to do with that 20 minutes of stillness, which I really need to give credit to Annie for creating. Annie created the Soul Paws format, which I've seen a lot of animal therapy over the years, but there's really nothing like it. And Annie did this amazing thing where, while for some of the workshop we're engaging with the animals and we're doing a therapeutic activity, Annie's made sure that we're also taking these moments of stillness as an invitation to come back into the body and into our souls with the animals by our side. It's such a beautiful thing, and it's often really powerful. So that's where Soul Paws comes from, and the name.
Nice. Annie, do you want to add anything?
I thought that was perfect. Good job, Shannon. No, I do want to emphasize just how difficult it is to embrace the silence and the stillness in life. I think in general, and especially those who are working through some kind of trauma, your brain is just constantly going. And I currently work with a group of young people who have either been sexually exploited, sex trafficked in some manner. We're right on the border of Mexico and San Diego County. So unfortunately, we have a lot of individuals that have had those experiences. And they're just always thinking, where's my next meal going to be? Where am I going to sleep? Is my child going to be safe? There's just a lot going on, but giving them that permission to just be silent and calm and still for just a few minutes really helps to, and this is going to sound very trite, but recharge their batteries. They just need that time to have a rest and be within the safety of that animal for a few minutes. So I think that it's very simple, yet it's so difficult, just to embrace that silence.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I wanted to just take a minute and share a story with you. I specialize in treating eating disorders, and so I work with a lot of people who've experienced early childhood trauma, and I do groups. And in one of my groups, there was one of my patients who had been so traumatized. She really kept virtually everyone out of her life. She didn't really let people in and wasn't really intimate with anyone, really sharing feelings or just turning to people for support. And over a period of, I think, pretty close to 2 years, the group worked with her on encouraging her to adopt a cat. And, we went through various stages of fear and all kinds of reasons why it wasn't a good idea. And then finally one day she said that that if I went with her, we could go to the Humane Society and just look around. And long story short, she ended up adopting Larry, who has become the most powerful healing agent in her life. They love each other so much. And I think for this patient, it was her first experience of feeling safe enough to make that kind of deep connection and let herself feel love and let herself experience being loved. So animals are great healers, and I'm really just thrilled that we're going to have you doing your workshop where you're going to be also talking about trauma recovery and animal-assisted therapy, and that we'll have you for our petting parlor. You'll be seeing me there a lot. So I just want to say to everyone who's watching, I really hope that this is an annual conference you won't miss. It's April 26th through 29th down in Southern California in Orange County. And we really, really hope to see you there. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Shannon. And thank you, Annie. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.